These past few episodes, I've been working on my new farm area, getting all the materials I need ready to make some food using both Create and Farmer's Delight. And this episode, we're getting very close to that goal by building both a butcher's and restaurant, as well as building a pickup truck to move all the stuff around my farm area. Okay, so the first thing on our agenda is to build our butchers. And it's going to be a very similar design to the bakery, probably a little bit smaller. I realized considering the butchers was already too small to put all my stuff in is a bit silly, but luckily we don't actually have to do that much in the butchers. So I'm going to head back to the main area, get ourselves a bunch of materials. Although, why is there an iron golem here? Hello? And just two random villagers. Oh, I know. Some villagers have made their way from this village up here down into the tunnel, but whatever. Distraction. Okay, the first thing I honestly need to do is empty out this backpack because I have way too much crap, and fill up some of these tanks for my jetpack because they are definitely running a little bit low. The main general thing is that we're going to need some more wood, namely some pale oak and a bunch more spruce. And there we go, there's a bunch. And I'm going to have to return to this tree farm at some point because I've had to mostly disable it because for some reason it was overcutting things when it really shouldn't have. So I must have messed something up at some point. So we'll have to come back here at some point and fix that, and also add a leaf farm as well. We head back home here and grab our schematic table and schematic cannon, because what I've done is actually created our butchers in a creative world, mostly to save some time, and with the fact that this building is more or less similar to our bakery, as you can kind of see. And then I need to just figure out kind of where I want this to be. I was thinking potentially over here, kind of next to our farmhouse and leading up to the windmill. And I think here is a pretty good spot. I'll need to flatten out the land around the back and also underneath it so that it actually has something to obviously sit on. And if we grab our clipboard, we can actually figure out exactly what we need, which is luckily not too much, mostly just different kind of wood types, which obviously we grabbed mostly already. So let me place my backpack down and see what that says. Okay, yeah, we already have quite a decent amount of stuff, so I'll grab the rest of these items and then we can start canning in the butchers. And there we go, nice and simple. I've also thrown in our different floor, and it's all pretty much prepped, ready to start cutting things up. And I think I will be making this upper area also into storage potentially as well. But yeah, just like the bakery, I think we're going to have a post box outside of here, place in a simple belt, make our slicer, which is just a turntable, a cogwheel, and andesite casing. Now if we place this down here, and there is a little bit of a bug with Create Slice and Dice at the moment, meaning that it's not showing up correctly sometimes. But if we grab ourselves a knife as well and put that in and get this hooked up to power, and there we go, there's that very simply set up. Go and grab some meat and throw that onto our belt. We'll see that it starts cutting it up, even though it's a bit invisible at the moment. And that's pretty much all I need to do. There's no special things I need to do for this, purely for cutting up meat ready to put into our meals. I think what I'm going to do is add a little bit of a hole here, place down a small vault to hold on to all of our meat. That way we can make ourselves a fan to place underneath some chutes. I have to make sure I actually put it in the right place. But then if that's hooked up, hopefully when the minced beef goes straight in, it gets pushed up and directly up into our item vault here. And then whenever our restaurant needs it, it can request from this butcher and deliver it straight to the restaurant. Speaking of the restaurant, I'm thinking of generally placing it into the center here, as it's going to be a relatively big building with some outside seating, and I want to make sure there's still some room around to allow a road to pass by for all the trucks to move along. I think what I'm going to do is, I think actually level the grass down to this level. Although I really need to be careful because this shovel is literally about to break. I think I should have another one in here, although that's also about to break. I'm going to go fix those real quick. And with some flashing done over here and here, I think we can make a start on where I want the restaurant to be. So I mostly started with a spruce wood frame along with some andesite and fence pillars. I then used a bunch of parapets to cover the outdoor seating I also made a start on the second floor along with the pale oak wood for the windows. I made sure to continue that stone wall style at the back of the building that I'd used on my bakery and butchers, and then went in with a very simple spruce and deep slate roof with a couple of trapdoors for the center part. Made sure to add some small windows into the roof area, and then added some stairs and trapdoors for a little bit of more structure, followed by some buttons on the logs and some spruce window shutters, as I thought that looked quite nice next to the pale oak wood. Then finally finished off by placing a bunch of azalea leaves on top of our seating area to make it look a bit more prettier. And there we go, that is mostly the exterior done. Now I just want to get our interior in, at least on the bottom floor. And I think I'm going to do all of the actual food making and stuff on the second floor, once I place the ceiling in, of course. But I think I'm going to start with the outside first. Just get ourselves a nice floor in so we can place down all our tables and chairs. I think I'm going to use some of these overlapping stone tiles for the outside trim. And then probably use some of these tiny tough bricks for the actual main base that the tables are going to go on. And I think I'm going to have the kitchen kind of back here, or at least the fake kitchen. And then bring up this bit of dirt here, throw in some more of our trim again. And honestly, just to make sure that the floor isn't too grey, I think I'm actually going to throw in some green concrete here, some of these panels, and then some mosaics in the middle, because I kind of like how that looks, and it adds a little bit of colour on the inside. Then I think I'm going to probably get in the ceiling here. Probably use some oak slabs just to have it a little bit of a variation of colour, even if it's not actually that much. And that also gives us a floor to place stuff upstairs as well. I think I'm going to throw in some of these iron bowl lanterns, because I kind of like how kind of cozy they are. I think they look a bit better than using just the plain lanterns. Then as for the actual kind of counter, I think I'm just going to use a bunch of these pale oak counters, which is actually from this mod called Every Compat. Essentially allows me to take the modded pale wood and convert it into some of the other mods that we have as well. So there's our counter, and I'm thinking of using some more of these stockade fences at the top. And I think, like how I did with my other restaurant in the train station, I'm going to use these side tables as a form of stool. Then I think we can place some plant pots down, throw in some flowers and things, using some checkered cobblestone tiles for this. And then for the kitchen itself, I think we're going to place a few stoves down with a couple of cauldrons and levers to look like a sink. And honestly, probably more of these counters on each side, just so there's plenty of surfaces. And then perhaps some cutting boards on each side, just so we break up the monotony of the white a little bit. But perhaps I think I can actually change the tops of these. Yeah, here we go. As long as I hold on to a block in my hand, I can change the tops of these counters. And that adds a little bit of color variance. So maybe I should do that for these ones as well. We could also throw in some knives into our knife boards, or cutting boards rather. And I think that works quite well. I think I need to actually, though, place some more of the stone down the sides of the kitchen. And I'll make sure to leave in space for a door. I'm actually going to replace these doors to the back of the blocks so I can place down some andesite stairs, just so it's not too flat of a wall. And then I think just to finish this off, I'm going to replace these bottom blocks with some reinforced stripped logs. Once again, just to break up the texture a little bit. Do that for these ones as well. Now, as for the outdoor seating, I think we can just have probably a 3x2 table, perhaps stick it out a little bit further out, just so we have a bit more space. Then we can just throw our chairs down and our tablecloths on top. And I think I'll keep this one clear just so you have a path to the inside, but more or less repeat that around the sides of the restaurant. And there we go. I've made sure again to leave some spaces so you can walk through easier, but you have quite a few chairs and tables. I think what I'm also actually going to do is place some more of these lanterns on the wood out here, just to make sure this all stays nice and lit at night. And I think actually I'm going to place down some composters, although not with the tablecloth, but some composters with some azalea leaves above them, just to add a little bit of foliage on the inside as well. Making sure not to accidentally actually click into the composter, otherwise the leaves get composted. But yeah, there we go. I'm liking how that's looking. And I think the next thing I'm probably going to try and do is actually start thinking about how I want to make the actual food up here. Hopefully there should be enough room. I do want to make 3 different foods. So I think as long as I keep each food to each section, I think that will be fine. Okay, so I think the first item I would like to make is pasta with meatballs, which is just a bowl, some minced beef, some raw pasta, and some tomato sauce. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a truck come by and drop off any items into a post box. I think I'm going to place down a vault here, just so all those items can be placed into there. And then place some depots on with some brass funnels coming out, because essentially what I think I'm going to do is set these all to exactly 1, then make ourselves a mechanical arm, which I'm going to need to grab the stuff for. Now I'll grab a bit of gold, and I've already got some brass on me. Make some cogs, flatten this bit of gold and throw it into here. I do already have some iron nuggets in here, although I think I'm going to need some more. And essentially, just like we have in the past, keep scrolling through to make sure that all the materials that we need into our gold to make our precision mechanism. Flatten out our brass, strip a log so we can add our brass ingot to that. And that should be everything we need for that. We head back to the farm, where I've realized I need to make a mechanical mixer with a blaze burner underneath. So I'm actually going to need to make another blaze burner and head to the nether. So back home we go again. We do already have the items that we need for the blaze burner in storage, so let's grab those real quick. Head to the nether, and then we still have our blaze spawner here, so just grab that. And luckily none spawned to shoot me. Then I think I'll just place this here, along with our basin and mechanical mixer on top. And then I believe I can just use my mechanical arm to extract from all these points and then deposit the basin here. And we can just place that there and then switch this to forced round robin. So once I set up these funnels, I'll have them drop 1 item each onto these depots, and mechanical arm can place them in 1 by 1 into our basin here. Now, I actually don't have a way of fueling the blaze burner at the moment, and the idea is that potentially next episode, spoilers by the way, I may be building a train. I think I'm going to bring some lava over from our power station to our farm area and then just fuel our blaze burners with those. But that's not super necessary right now. What I am going to need to do with this is that obviously we're going to have our minced beef set up and we're going to have our raw pasta set up, as that comes from our butcher and bakery, but we don't have our tomato sauce, which is just simply 2 tomatoes, a bowl into a mixer. And I think what I'm going to do there is actually build a separate mixer over here that will essentially just take tomatoes out of this item vault, mix them and put them straight back in. And if we make ourselves another mixer real quick, we can just throw that in this corner. And luckily for us, it doesn't have to be heated. I can just do it the normal way. I think what I'll actually do is make myself another mechanical arm to easily put things in and out of this system. Actually remove this last bit here because I realized this recipe only needs 4 items, just to give us a little bit more room. Raise this by 1, just so I can place some item drains down. Put the brass funnel down here and here, just so that once this is finished mixing, it can go straight back into the vault. Although the only issue is I do need actually 2 brass funnels because I need bowls and tomatoes. So let me come up with some ideas and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I think what I've decided is I just made the vault a little bit bigger on this side, changed up this mechanical arm, and I'm going to actually extract from these and place it directly into this basin. That should work how I want it to, hopefully. Now, if I grab all the items that I actually need for this and start placing these into the funnels, so it works the way that I want it to, we can then hook up some power and see if it works or not. For each of these, we can put bowl, beef, tomato sauce, and pasta. And then for each one of these, I also need to do a bowl and tomatoes, and actually change this one to exactly 2. I need 2 tomatoes per bowl. Also going to throw in the tomato sauce into the basin here to make sure that's what it's making all the time. And now I just need to hook up some power. Okay, I believe that is everything hooked up. Now I just need to place the items into this vault just to see if it all works properly. I think I'll place down a brass funnel and just throw in what I already have in here. And that's now grabbing everything. Although this is not quite working how I want it to. Let me grab our tomato sauce again and place that in there. And I also forgot to set this to force round robin. And this one too. So let me actually throw this stuff back in here again. And that one is now making tomato sauce, which is exactly what we need. And now if I get some lava, come grab that from our power station, put that into our blaze burner to cook. This should hopefully, yeah, there we go. Pasta with meatballs. That's exactly what I wanted. I can then also place that on the basin to make sure that's what it only makes. And that's our first meal. It was maybe a little bit more complicated than I was expecting it to be, maybe, but overall seems to work. So what I'll eventually do is once we actually have our van going around our farm, I'm going to place a train station probably just behind the restaurant here with some post boxes, and the post boxes can dump items directly into this item vault. I think what I'll do is I'll constantly get this item vault to ask for items from the other storage so that it always has items ready to cook with, but also grab any items that come out from our basins here into a separate storage, I think. And then whenever we get a certain amount of a meal, we can then turn off all the contraptions over here just so it doesn't over create things. I think actually I'm going to place a little bit of vaults here. I think if I place a drain here and a brass funnel, hopefully that should be enough and will only drop things out once there is some pasta with meatballs in there. Then if I make myself a threshold switch as well as a clutch there, we can then use our redstone link and probably just do meatballs and pasta in both. Make sure that one receives and probably make it pretty low. I'm just thinking that I would like one stack of it, I think. So hopefully that keeps that under control and then turns off the system when we don't need any more. And now I was planning to do 3 meal items up here, but honestly, considering how much room this took up, it might only be 2. Unless I decide to stack some of these on top of each other, but probably not. So for my other meal, I think I'm gonna do vegetable soup. I was originally thinking of the chicken one, but that actually I think will take up more room. So I think the vegetable soup will be a good spot for this. Plus it uses a bunch of items that I haven't actually used yet. So we need to more or less have the same kind of setup as the other side. Now this meal actually does need 5 things. So we'll place 5 depots and funnels down. And I believe, again, these are all just 1. They are. And I could cut up the cabbage, but I don't think I'm going to bother because I think we already have quite a lot of cabbage in our fields that we can't actually see from here. So if we place down our cauldron and mixer again, just like we did on that side, grab our mechanical arm and set up our depots and basin, and then suddenly realize this is too low and actually place our blaze burner first, basin, and then mixer, and just repeat what we did before, then I think that's pretty much set up for the vegetable soup. I don't think I need to do anything more than that. So setting up the actual create component should be relatively easy. And with the power set up, all I need to do is grab all the items that I need for this. And luckily we already have a bowl, so I can throw that in. And then we can place our beetroot, our cabbage, carrots, and potato. And then if I actually throw in this stuff, although I did actually just throw in my cooked potatoes, but oh well. If I grab some lava and start that up and actually throw in a bowl as well, because I forgot to do that. I made sure to set this to force round robin. I should place everything in, and it made cabbage rolls, which is not what I wanted. And I can see why. The cabbage rolls is pretty much all of these things plus some cabbage. So I guess maybe if I just change the order this a little bit, that might fix it maybe. Perhaps we'll do cabbage last. Okay, so all they should go in. And now this should properly make what we want. There we go. There is our vegetable soup. So I can now also place that on the basin to make sure it actually makes the right thing. And if I just do what I did on the other side, which is place a drain in and add our brass belt funnel facing the right way. And there we go, we also have some vegetable soup in here as well. Now I just need to more or less do what I did over here. And I think I'll just add the clutch to this bottom bit here. And although the mixer will still keep on going, the arm won't be able to keep on giving it ingredients. So that should work well enough. We'll place down another threshold switch with our vegetable soup as our filter. Use it for our redstone link. Make sure that receives, and we'll once again switch this to 1 stack so it doesn't hold on to too many. And that's more or less what I wanted to do here. I of course need to actually hook this up properly with the rest of the system, and also I think add a little store down here so I can actually take out some of these bits of food. But the first bit I need to do is actually build in all these roads around our new village area. And that's probably going to take me some time, so I'm going to get to that and hopefully I'll be back in a flash. And there we go, there is the basic road in, going all the way around our restaurant, and also finally finished off the road past the silos towards the greenhouses. Any van can now make pretty much a loop around anywhere without having to turn around. Now, the next thing I need to do is actually put some rail/track underneath this. And one thing I kind of didn't think about when I was making this road is the fact that the tire tracks I've kind of placed are like too wide from each other rather than the typical one. My truck's going to have to be a little bit wider than I was initially thinking, and I'm also going to have to center the track, I guess, on like the outside bit of inner dirt here, and hopefully the van won't look too weird, but we'll see. Let me go and get some track from our train track factory and start digging out some ground underneath to place our track down. And I think I'll make sure this is actually low enough so that the road doesn't fall into the gap below. And there we go, that's pretty much all the track laid down, as you can see in the cave map. And now I need to start thinking about how I want to design this truck. First thing I need to do is actually place down a train station out here. I think I'm just going to place it here for now, perhaps move it somewhere else, because I do eventually want to attach a post box to that. If we then create a new train and throw down our train casing down, that way we can then use some of this glass panel, just so that we can attach our truck to it. I think I will just use some copycat panels first. They're at the top part of the block. Kind of spread that out to decent size. This truck's going to be kind of long. Hopefully that's going to be an issue. I'm going to use some weathered iron on the bottom and then throw some steps on each side. Also use weathered iron for that as well. I think I'm going to start the front here actually with some concrete slabs. And then I think I'm going to use mostly green concrete for this, because I kind of want it to match my harvester a bit. So I've got some of this grill green concrete. I think I'm actually going to place some panels on there with these zippered iron bars, because I kind of like how that makes it look more like a grill. And I kind of want to wrap around the concrete like this using some of this railed green concrete. Kind of continue that round here. And then if I remove that step and place this down, that could be our wheel, and we can do that on the other side as well. And I do want some windows so you can actually look out of the driver's cab. We can just throw some normal glass in there, and then use some more of these steps, some of this green concrete panel, and some bites on the side just to make it easier to wrap around. And I think I'm going to use some more of this weathered iron for the kind of roof part. Then as you can see on my combine harvester, I kind of have these kind of windmill things, but truck's probably a little bit too small. So I think I'm going to use these half panels instead, with just more weathered iron on it. And I think that like works well enough, I would say. Would like to continue this up here and make sure that this is all connected. And that's more or less what our cab is probably going to look like. In fact, I can use some factory gauges on this as well, although unfortunately I need to tune this to a stock link. It means I can place these on the front and potentially put some lanterns in there as well. But as for the rest of this, I think I want to use some more of these vertical steps with, again, some more weathered iron, because that kind of makes it look more like a truck. And if I think I leave a little bit of a gap here to be able to get onto the truck, throw down some more copycat slabs with some of this stacked green concrete, just so it looks a little bit different from the front. And then I need to more or less do the same for the wheels as I did for the front. Try and make sure those aren't connected up. And of course do that on both sides. And I think I'm actually going to have a little bit on top here. Grab our 2 other factory gauges and just kind of connect them to these ones. And those can be where our backlights go. Make sure I don't forget to place the wheels in. Then I've got these weathered iron depots, which I'm pretty much just going to place all the way down here so that we can see the packages on top of it as it's moving around. And I think I'm going to use some of these woven spruce trapdoors to kind of wrap up the sides a little bit. Then of course I'm going to need some train controls, a seat, and then I'm going to place 2 barrels here just because this is not going to be probably enough space for all the packages. But I still wanted a visual. Then I can just throw in these glowstone at the front and this redstone I think at the back to kind of make it look like that there actually are proper lights. Then I guess the only thing that I really need to do now is make sure that this is all glued up, including these buttons and the factory gauges too. Hopefully I've managed to grab everything within that. So if I now actually assemble our train, although apparently that's not working, I think I've now fixed it. So now if we try again, it should now all be attached. And if we actually get in our truck and start moving forwards, it does indeed look like we've managed to actually grab everything. Now I think I'm just going to do a real quick lap of the village, making sure that all these paths work. Although I am going down the wrong way in this one at the moment, because I did plan it to go in the opposite direction, but that's fine. But the truck seems to be looking mostly okay, and following the track for the most part. I'm not sure if the corners are quite perfect. Actually, you know what? That's not bad at all. I was expecting it to be worse. It does seem to be that the turns are working relatively well, although this one might need a little bit of work. It's probably swinging out a little bit too far at the moment. But that's not a massive issue. I can fix that. Yeah, overall, it all seems to be working relatively well. Okay, that curve was way better than the last one. And now that our truck is more or less working, I think I can start with actually getting all these buildings finally hooked up. Been a long time coming. So one thing I have done is actually converted the 2 big vaults I had down here into lots of small separate ones, hooked up some packages and some stock links onto them. And I know maybe this looks a little bit complicated. The system isn't actually too bad. This is the conveyor that comes down from the combine harvester. So I've set up these brass funnels to take in each of the different kinds of crops and stuff into their own separate vaults. And then everything else goes into lava. And I did the same for all the animal farms as well. And then whenever we decide to call for, say, for example, some carrots, they will be turned to a package, put out onto this belt, slung across the room here. And then I'm probably going to place down a post box here so that when the truck comes by, it can come and pick it up. I haven't actually tried to make sure that works yet, but one thing at a time. In fact, let me hook up a post box to this train station. And I made sure that these post boxes can go a pretty far distance. So if I just place that there with a brass funnel, any kind of packages coming in should go straight into this post box. And I don't think I need to name this because it's purely a pickup point. But let's say I want to bring some wheat to our windmill. I think if I just place a train station down here, just plop this down outside, call that the windmill. If I connect our post box up to, let's say here, because what I think I want to do for this, as it's probably a little bit too far for the post box, but if I set up some conveyor belts here, make sure to throw a barrel down and a funnel and some frogs. I just realized I need to make sure I do that on the packager. That means anything coming into the post box should end up directly into our crushing wheel. And I think I can just use an extra conveyor belt here just to bring power onto it. And then I am going to place a packager onto our main item vault here, along with a stock link. I think I actually have to pull out of the windmill this way. Although once again, I'm kind of new to all this. See if that even works. So I think what I'm going to actually try and do is hook up to this stock link with 2 of our factory gauges here, one with wheat and one with wheat flour. Make sure that these are connected, and basically 1 wheat to 1 wheat flour. There is obviously a chance to get more than 1 wheat flour, but that is the general trade-off. And then I think if I just put in windmill here, save and close, and say I want just the 1 item, hopefully because that is connected up to this system. Yes, I watched a package go into this post box, and I think it's actually being picked up directly by our truck already. Which, yeah, there we go. We can see that it is on the back of the truck. Then if I manually take this for a ride, although this is a little bit of a complicated junction, hopefully it goes the right way. And if I come in to pull up at the station here, I should pull that out, go up onto our conveyor, and this seems to have worked so far, get eaten by our frog here, and then the wheat comes out to the crushing wheels and out the other side. And then once that makes it to the storage over here, this should now be satisfied. In fact, we got 2 wheat flour out of that one, so perfect. Glad the system is working. Then I need to more or less do something similar with the butchers. If we once again place down a train station here, hide it over here, and place a post box outside next to our conveyor belt with a funnel. And we can just name this butcher as well as the train station. I think I'm going to place another packager up here with some item drain. Hook up a second post box to our train station here. And set up some andesite funnels so that this post box can send packages out onto our truck as it moves by. And actually make sure to set up a stock ticker here, or stock link rather. Set up once again a couple of factory gauges here. Throw in our raw beef and minced beef. Make sure they are connected up. We'll type in butcher for this, and let's say I want to go with 10 of these. And as we can see, we have some raw beef in there to go to the butchers. Head into the station, that drops it off. I did realize I did forget to unpackage this, so let me fix that real quick. And if I once again approach this with the correct setup, that should unpackage it correctly. And I presume that cut it. These things go so fast. And yeah, this is now satisfied. We got 1 steak to 2 minced beef. Now, just so this isn't so repetitive for you guys, I'm going to pretty much set up all the rest of the systems so that they're all connected up with each other, and then bring you back in. Okay, a little bit of time later, and I think I've set up most of the things that I need to. I set up a packager here and drop it down into a funnel and straight into our bakery here, just so I don't have to bother with the truck. And the way that works is I have set up some factory gauges here just to convert wheat flour into dough. And then I did change up the bakery a little bit, where instead of using the factory gauges, I decided to set up some threshold switches, which just check if there's 1 stack of them. And then if there is, it will turn off the brass funnels and prevent any dough from coming out of it. And that should in theory mostly work. And then inside of our restaurant, I've set up a post box on the inside when the truck comes by. The vegetable soup comes in through this one and gets placed into this vault. And this packager essentially has a bunch of restockers on it to ask for a stack of each of those type of vegetables. And then on the other side for the meatballs, I did more or less the same thing. Made sure that once the item vault has a stack of tomato soup, it should turn off this clutch and prevent any more tomato soup being made to make sure that it doesn't run out of tomatoes ever. So now in theory, if we get back into the truck, I'm going to reverse back towards the barn here real quick. And if we pull up to the barn, we should pick up a bunch of packages. There they are. And if you go to these stations one by one, hopefully they should drop off whatever they need. As you can see, some packages are coming out of that one. Then if I approach the windmill, I actually don't think I have enough wheat at the moment, so the windmill doesn't have anything. Then if I come up to the bakery, you can see I picked up a package there. If I come over to the restaurant here, that should drop off everything. And then as you can see, we pretty much have everything in stock here now, with the exception of some beetroot, which I guess will come in another package. And the minced beef is probably now waiting to be picked up at the butcher's, which it indeed is. So all I need to do now, more or less, is set up a schedule for our truck to pretty much go to all the train stations we need. And that is pretty much our bakery slash butcher slash restaurant setup, at least for the meals that we currently have. Of course, there's still some stuff over at the greenhouses that need to be brought around, but we can set those up when we actually need it. So I'm actually going to grab my lead here and I guess grab a turtle. Does that allow me to do that? Okay, no, it doesn't. I guess I'll just grab one of my spare cows for now and place them into our seat here. And then if I set up a schedule to move in between all these points, so we'll start off with the barn, go to the butcher, the windmill, bakery, and then finally to the restaurant, and then obviously allow that to loop forever. That should more or less bring all the packages around where they need them to be. So if we give this to our cow and start following them along, though perhaps I need to change the schedule to reduce the speed of this truck a little bit, but at least for testing we could find out quickly if anything is broken at least. And yes, it does go the long way around when trying to pick up packages, but honestly, I don't think that's a big deal. Pull up to the barn here, pick up some packages, head off from here to our butchers, which I think we're going to pick up some more from. Yep. We'll go to our windmill, which I don't think is going to have anything right now, to our bakery, and then to our restaurant, where hopefully pretty much all of these should be dropped off. There we go. So now if we go inside, I can see that we have all the beetroot that we need. And I guess we don't currently have enough beef at the moment to fulfill our minced beef. Same issue with the wheat. And honestly, one of the main reasons for that is that I've actually run out of wheat to feed our cows because I deattached the system when I was changing up the storage down here. But I can fix that at a later point. Yes, with our delivery van now moving around, moving all the things that we need, I think we're more or less done for today. I obviously, of course, still need to set up the bowls so that we're actually creating those, as well as feeding our blaze burners some lava. But that is going to be for the next episode, because I'm going to build a train that's going to bring over some lava and wood from our main area. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you everyone for watching today. I really appreciated it, and I'll see you all hopefully next time. Bye bye for now.